6. Okay. So I was looking at some notes that I had. I had did a somewhat of like a diagram. I can actually put it here. What would be my advice if you are a caregiver or a CNA and you want to go from CNA to CEO? And I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should outline the steps of what that looks like for someone who is interested in starting their home care agency in 2026, which is very, very close. Thank you so much for the hearts. First, let me know, do we have any CNAs in who are watching? Do we have any CNAs who are watching? And I know you might say, oh, but I'm a nurse or I'm not CNA. Do we have any CNAs who are watching? If we have any CNAs who are watching, this one specifically could be, it's going to be for you, because essentially I want to help you. Thank you so much for liking the live. I want to help you um, care like a CNA, but think like an agency. Care like a CNA, but think like an agency. If you're following me, put that in the comments. Put that here. You want to start, or I should say, start as a caregiver. Think like an agency. And that's going to be important because sometimes people don't think like an agency when they get started. They don't think like an agency when they get started. They're still thinking about being the best, um, okay, hey, North Carolina, the best home care, at home health care aide, CNA. And I love everything about it. But in 2026, we want, I want you to go from being a CNA, being a caregiver, being so awesome and wonderful, and going and thinking like an agency owner, right? And so, hey, Taxis, all right. Hey, how are you? Hey, Sunshine, how are you? Did you ever get my email? Just recognize I haven't seen you on here in a while. Um, so if you're already an agency owner, okay, great. Where are you located? If you are a CNA, give me the number one. If you are a CNA, give me the number one. A lot of times, a CNA is someone who is working for him or herself or working for an agency. So, yeah, working for him or herself, working for him, working for an agency, or working, um, well, kind of one and three, kind of the same. They're working directly with a client. All right, thank you. Shout out to all the CNAs. So if you're a CNA, you already know that this is not where you want to you want things to end. You don't want to be, I mean, you might even love your client, but you don't want it to end there. Oh yes, thank you so much. Please keep tapping a lot. You don't want it to end there, right? Especially if you're working for an agency, and then if you are working directly for a client, you ain't gonna ever have a break. You might be making some good money, but you ain't gonna ever have a break, right? So I want to take you through the steps this evening of how you can make your exit strategy, and not an exit strategy from providing a excellent care, right? Even though I don't want you to be working at the bedside forever, but I want you to go from CNA to CEO, and in doing that, here are some of the things I want you to do. Now, this is what I had. You might not have, you might can't read this all the way, right? But I have these things that I write out when I'm doing lives or when I'm doing classes. And I just found it. I was like, oh. And in the first box, it says CNA. So if you are CNA, that's you. So let's go into step one. If you're following me, put step one. I'm going to give you a very clear path of what you need to do. Put step one in the comments. Step one. Step one in the comments. Step one is I want you to look into registering your business. Now, I don't want you to play it safe and register. You know, some people say, well, it's just going to be me initially. So I only want to do it as a sole proprietor. No, I want you to look at the rules in your state for registering it as a LLC or INC. Now, let me tell you that I'm not giving you business structure advice or legal advice, but most people do the LLC route because the paperwork is easy. Most people go the LLC route because the paperwork is easy. You usually go to your state's Department of Tax and Assessment or State Department, and you're going to look up how to register your business. You're going to look up how to register your business. And when you look up how to register your business, they're also going to allow you to do a statewide search. A statewide search to see if your name is already taken. So let's say, for example, you have a business name in mind. If you've always thought about this business name, I want you to come up with either two other variations of that name or two other business names, just in case that business name is already taken, right? Just in case that business name is already taken. And so you can either there is a fee. There is a fee for registering your business. There is a fee. Now, I'm not vouching for LLCs. My first home care agency, home healthcare agency, I started as a C corp and filed as an S corp. I would prefer that you talk to one of my business colleagues that helps with that before we get into that. But I'm just saying, I want you to invest in yourself. I want you to bet on yourself. You know how they say, you know, we bet on the house, bet on yourself and do that business registration. So that's what's up there. After you do your business registration, you're going to go on over to the IRS.gov and you're going to get you a EIN number. You're going to get you a tax ID number. Okay. Tax ID number, right? So now you have what we call created a foundation for yourself. You have a business foundation. Once you do those two steps, you have an official business name, official business structure, and then you have a tax ID. One of the main reasons why we want you to do that is because even if you are still doing things like private duty, or you have some old clients that occasionally want you to do some care with them one-on-one, and you get the tax ID if you go to irs.gov. Go to irs.gov and you're going to apply for an EIN number, Tiffany. Employer identification number. It is free. Now, the business structure part or the business registration part is not free. You have to pay for that. You have to pay the fee for that form. So yes, you should have the business name first. Correct. Because you're registering the business. So let's say Abby Business Chick I registered that with the state, and I filed incorporation paperwork. It's a court, right? I filed incorporation paperwork with Savvy Business Check. So when you see the drop down menu, it'll say which one do you want to which one are you filing? LLC. Now LLC has a different structure. LLC will ask how many members. If it's just you, you are that member. So you're a single member. If you have a corporation, then that's how you get into shareholders and everything like that. Again, I'm not giving the lesson on the business foundation. I'm just telling you to do it. You're going to get your business registered, and then you're going to get your EIN number. That is step one. If you're following me on step one, let me know. And for those, oh, I do? Oh, okay, thanks. For those, if you are following me tonight, this is how to go from CNA to CEO, and that's home care CEO. Right now, you're starting as a caregiver. I want you to think like an agency. So the first part of thinking like an agency is you're going to separate you from the business, right? That's why I want you to start it. That's why I want you to get your business registered, because you are technically the service provider. You need to have a separation from the agency that's going to be sending out the invoice, the agency that's going to be taking on the liability. It should something, heaven forbid, go wrong. All right, so if we got step one down and you're following, I want you guys to say ready if you're ready for step two. Okay, this is my base, nothing else. I'll say ready. All right. And after this, I'm gonna feel real comfortable about throwing this away, right? Because I feel like I have so many things to share that in 2026 I'm gonna be definitely dropping some new courses, training. Okay. All right. So I asked earlier what state you are in. Because now I want you to go looking for a license type that you're going to do. Okay, we got Texas, we got North Carolina. You're moving way too fast. Moving way too fast. I got that part in here. Florida, okay, Illinois, all right, California, Texas, okay, all right, all right. So for those states, we want to go with Texas has a personal service agency license. Mobile, Alabama, you can get started right after you do your business registration. California has a very expensive application fee. Georgia, not too high. Illinois is about 1700 for the application fee. Okay, I see North Carolina. Okay, so all right, so let me start. Texas, I want you to look into I think I have one on my Savvy Business Chick YouTube channel about how to start an agency in Texas. And that's the personal service agency application. Now, before I'm going to spit out some of the application fees. And before you, if you're not ready to pay that to the state, not to me, then we're going to come up with a way that you can do that within the next 3 months, because we want to be really, really aggressive in 2026. Why? Because I already told you guys earlier this year that 2030 is the first wave of the silver tsunami. Okay. So we don't need to be wasting time this year. We don't need to be doubting ourselves this year. Um, I believe if you are watching me, that God brought you to my live, and that if you're watching me on a replay, you're supposed to watch this because you're ready to get serious. So that's why I'm just really telling you this is what you should be doing. Okay. So like I said, Texas is about 1,500. North Carolina, I think it's about 700. Maryland, no license fee. Uh, Florida is less than $100. Illinois is about 1,500. California, 5,600. Mobile, Alabama, no. I'll explain in just a second. You have your PSA license, okay? Ohio's about what, 250. Florida, 75. Georgia, I believe is like 5 or 700. Okay. Now, don't move too fast with your questions, but thank you for your questions because I already saw how do I get clients. I want to explain that. I'm going to, how do you get clients and laugh? You jumping too far ahead. You jumping too far ahead. And believe me, if you stir some rice before it's ready, anybody ever messed up rice and made it too mushy because you started stirring it? This is what you gonna get, right? This is what you forgot. I don't know why that rice example just came up in my head. But anybody mess up some rice because they stirred it too soon? Okay, so I want us to go step by step. This is not the type of industry where you can skip over steps. This is not the type of industry where you can do shortcuts. We do loopholes, but not shortcuts. If you're following me, loopholes means, oh, if I do it, if I do it, if I do it at this office, they move a lot faster. That's a loophole. A shortcut is like, oh well, I'm not going to send them my insurance information until after they send it back to me asking for it. Trying to do a shortcut when you already know that that's what you're supposed to submit with, right? So I want you to now look at whatever the cost is. So let's just round it up with $1,000. Is it anybody that knows what their home care application is? And I can honestly say, in a very transparent way, hey, I don't know if I can afford that yet. So I'm going to give you two ideas of what you can do in the meantime. And I want you to be saving towards that. This is what I did. When I first started my first home health care agency, I was out of work. I'm not sure if you guys ever knew that. I'm not sure. I was out of work and I paid as I went. I paid as I went. They didn't have afterpay. I don't want to tell my age, but they didn't have afterpay. They didn't have those kind of things where we can and the state don't take afterpay anyway, right? So okay. Only thing I don't like about North Carolina is they make you take that prerequisite class prior to. Um, Texas, Texas was at 26. Did Texas go up? Let me go check real quick. 1 second. The class, it's on their website. And I have, let me go back here. Okay, so just like you would, but okay, in short, let me go here. Let's say you don't have to share. Let's say you don't have enough money saved up. And let's say it's $1,000, right? For your application fee. It's only a couple of states where it's a little bit higher. Then you want to treat it like a bill, or if you were saving up for your wedding dress or for a big party or for a cruise, and you want to put money aside regularly for this particular application. And what's the best way that you can do that? You got your business registered, you got your tax ID. Go ahead and open up a business bank account and put that money in that account. It's out of your hands. It's out of your hands. And now, when you go pay for the application or whatever associated with your business, it's an official business expense. Um, you guys are having your own conversation, and I'll go back to the resources at the end. I'm not going to get caught up too much. Okay, so we have step one is to get your business registered. Step two is to, if you are not able to submit your application for your home care license, then you need to be saving up for it. Or here is something you can do if you are a CNA. If you are a CNA, you can actually get on a care.com. You can get on a care.com. And if you don't have right now a lot of revenue, or you don't have any independent clients, you can go market yourself, set up an account. Now, right now, care.com used to allow you to set up business accounts. They just want individual people setting up an account. You can go on a place like care.com, set your rates at close to, do like a range that would be in between um, uh, private pay and private pay agency rates, and then attract some people who are getting on to care.com looking for senior care. Have you guys ever heard of care.com? Number one, looking for senior care, and use some of that money to initially fund your business. Now, can you go look up grants? Yes, you can. But I was telling someone the other day, if you're going to be doing grants to fund your business, you're going to have to make that a monthly thing. That's every month. You're looking for what grant to apply for. And some of those grants, guys, they're not giving out 25K. Like, they're not giving out large sums. So some of them are doing 500, some of them are doing 750, some are doing 2,500, some are doing 5,000, right? And the more you're submitting, the higher the value, the more they're asking you to submit, right? I was looking at one of my mentees' business plans, and because we help with business plans, and a lot of these grants want to see your business plan, and the business plan was not something that would have gotten her approved if she was really looking for yeah, it's like a lottery sometimes. You're absolutely right. And that's why I say, I'm not saying don't do grants, but if you're waiting for that grant money to come in, to be your only source of funding for your business, then that's going to take that's going to take some time. Let me put it that way, for you to get to a certain amount. I don't know if your amount is 25,000 or 10,000. And so be doing that in addition to building up your business, because I know most of my mentees start with private pay clients. So when you start, yep, I started as self-funded as well. When you start with private pay clients, number one, the payments come in a lot quicker. Number two, you're getting paid an initial deposit before you start. So you don't have to worry about pre-authorizations. You don't have to worry about um, different things with your filing a bad claim and having it rejected. You don't have to worry about those type of things when you're dealing with private pay clients. Okay. Not to say private pay clients have no problems, but you don't have to deal with those problems. Right. Right. So we got step one. Step one was registering your business, getting your EIN number. Step two is, I want you to be looking for a non-skilled home care license. So Illinois is home service agency. Um, and a reason why I'm stressing non-skilled is because in different states, CNAs do, they're able to do different um, higher level skills, they say, treatments or therapies, depending on where they're working, right? And so they may feel like, hey, yeah, you know what? I want to do a skilled agency. But I'm saying your safe place right now is to do a non-skilled agency so that you don't have to hire a registered nurse. All of the states that I mentioned, you don't have to hire a registered nurse to, and you, and which is going to cost you more for your agency operation if you have to have a registered nurse on staff. Okay. All right. So we got step one, step two. Who's ready for step three? Right. Step three is you, it's essentially your operations. You need to have policies, procedures, forms, and systems. Let's say that again. Policies, procedures, forms, and systems. If you captured that, let me know in the comments. If you captured that, let me know in the comments. Policies, procedures, forms, and systems. I'll wait for you guys to respond. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I just put something um in the comments too. I want you to read. Okay. So one thing I wanted to point out before we go forward, I don't, if you feel like, oh, this is going to be hard, I usually don't see CNAs failing after they start, but I do usually see CNAs failing to start. So, so that's why they stall. I'm gonna repeat that again. I usually don't see CNAs failing after they start, but I do see them failing to start. So your policies, okay, depending on your state, you need licensure policies. Your licensure policies are what you're going to usually submit with your application. But one of the things that I teach in my home care Kickstarter program is that you not only need policies that um, are for your license, but you need policies that are for your operations. We call those SOPs or standard operating procedures. Standard operating procedures usually go with your system. So they could be something as simple as how many how many ti like okay, here's a good example. If um if you had three call outs from a caregiver, does that mean he or she would get suspended or terminated from your agency? That goes underneath operating policies, not licensure policies. The state doesn't care what you do in regards to that. They don't even ask for that information. So that can fall underneath operational policies, right? So you have your policies that you have to submit you have to submit, and then you have your um, procedures. Procedures are a part of your policies that give the instructions. Yes. So, yes, absolutely. SOPs. So, your licensure policies always go with your regulations. If you are in a regulated state, your your licensure policies always go with your regulations. Your regulations will say, we want a policy on how you're going to handle client abuse, right? So that would be a policy. The policy usually is a statement. XYZ agency will report all observations of um, client or elder abuse or financial exploitation. So the policy in itself is essentially a statement. However, what most people go wrong is that if they were to go to something like ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to help them with their policy and procedure, ChatGPT will give you a policy statement. However, it will be missing the procedure. It will be missing the procedure. The procedure says, how do I catch it? When do I catch it? How, um, what do I do with my staff? What if I um how do I conduct an investigation? What is the time frame of the investigation? Who what outside sources do I report it to? How was the situation evolved? The procedure is the heat of the oven, to preheat the oven to 375. Um, flip uh saute it in the pan first. The procedures, according to the state, are just as important as a policy. They want to see how you're going to carry it out. And this, my friends, right now, unfortunately, ChatGPT does not do. I've done a demo before. I don't have time to do it now. This is something that ChatGPT doesn't do. But you need your policies, procedures, for your license, for the regulations, and then even with your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, there is still a policy. It's the policy of the company to give holiday pay only on these days. Here's our procedure. We're going to send out a holiday calendar. We're going to go over what paid holidays during orientation. The procedure is what you also don't want to miss. And we got forms, guys. Then we got forms. Forms that you're going to use for your employees. Forms you're going to use for your clients. Forms you're going to use for documentation. Just different types of forms you can use for conducting business. Well, Sean, what if I have home care software and they told me I can sign everything on everything using the app? Okay. Have you ever, we get glitches with apps all the time. So you're telling me you're not going to use any paper? And with at least one of your clients being a senior, do you think that they're able to use click on a link that you send them that's digital, and have it be user friendly the entire time? So let's think this through. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm also asking you, how is that going to work for your operations? Okay. So we got business registered, step one. Getting license as step two. We got policies and procedures as step three. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, okay. Step three. You ready for step four? Are you ready for step four? After step four, I think we're ready to talk about how you're going to take on your first client. Are you ready for step four? Oh, we have one more thing. Okay. Step 4, insurance. If your state doesn't already require for you to have insurance, so let's say, for example, we had someone that said Mobile, Alabama. So her state doesn't require her to be licensed. You want to, at the very minimum, I was going over this with one of my mentees who just told me, I'm like, why are you telling me this late? That she got licensed the week before Christmas. You need to have, what do you mean, 10 pages? Um, is there a criteria for how long your policies and procedures and business plan has to be? I get that question a lot. And before that is a really good question. And because I get that question a lot, I wanted to address it. I theoretically, no, there is no criteria for how long your policies and procedures should be. However, if you submit, say, for example, 15 pages of policies and there are 15 required policies, the state is automatically going to know, and even me, that your policies are not thorough. So it's not more so the number of pages, it's more so the detail. As I mentioned with the client elder abuse policy, if you go look on your state regulations, okay, this is one I just did explain with one of my mentees earlier today. Let me go with this. This is a criminal background check policy. Just the criminal background check section. Let me just show you this. This is for Virginia. This is for Virginia. Let me share. Uh-oh. This is for Virginia. You see, this is only for criminal background checks. This is only for criminal background checks. So with this, it says to obtain a criminal background check for applicants for compensation from the Virginia Department of State Police. You guys see that? And that's just an example. And I'm not going to keep it on here. First, I just wanted you to see how long it was. If you believe that was that policy, that just the details of it. Okay, you guys see that? So the question came up today, and sorry for the diversion. Oh, Sean, ADP said I can do criminal background checks through them. But guess what? It says right here, you gotta do it through the Virginia Department of State Police. So guess what? If ChatGPT says obtain a criminal background check, FBI, guess whose policy would be incorrect? And guess who would be out of compliance? Because it don't say that there. It don't say that there. And not only does it have to say it, you have to follow it. So it said, so you see how long it was? So that means if you didn't have the details of what's in here, not necessarily copy and paste in your policy, then it's a good chance, because states like Virginia, they read line by line. when they come through and do your survey, they read line by line. It's a very good chance that your policy is going to be marked incomplete. But I love that question. I'm glad you asked because this is not to get you guys to buy policies, it's to get you to think like an agency. Okay, so again, you start, you're starting as a CNA. I want you to think like an agency. An agency says, "Hey, I want to be in business for a long period of time. I want to be collecting checks while somebody else does the work, right? I don't have to work bedside care anymore. I can show them how I did a good job, right? I can do that remotely now. I can do that from the beach. I can do that on a cruise, right? From home. So you want to think like an agency. Oh, you're in Virginia too? Oh, no way. See how God worked? See how God worked? All right. Yes, it's the efficiency of addressing everything. Okay. All right. So you want to have, okay, so some states specifically tell you what insurance policies you need to have. And then they're going to even tell you the limits of what you need to have. For that, follow that. But if you are in a state that doesn't really give you guidance on what insurance, then I'm going to say always do general liability, always do general liability. And then I want you to do a surety bond. So places like Indiana, um, Indiana, I don't even think Maryland doesn't do it. What is a surety bond? A surety bond um, really covers your affluent client, your private client's property. So let's say, for example, you have a client who has dementia and she keeps moving stuff from her. And you sent a new caregiver there, and and she says, "Oh, the new caregiver moved my diamond earrings. Those were worth $28,000. My husband gave those back to me, or they were worth a lot of money, right?" Fast, fast forward, you almost have to treat it like a crime because you have to report it either as lost or stolen. And because you have to report it as lost or stolen, then you have to do a police report, same as you would if anybody knows, like if you ever had to file a homeowner's insurance claim, you have to do a report, right? And then the investigation. So by you having a surety bond, let's say you had a $50,000 surety bond, and the payout for that bond, payout for that jewelry comes from the bond, not the general liability insurance. So your general liability insurance doesn't get tapped. You know how we don't want our insurance to go up, right? So so you can avoid having to file that claim to your general liability, which typically is for your agency being liable. No, you or your staff went wrong within the care of your client. But the surety bond can cover property, and by claim it gets paid out, and then you pay whatever the deductible is. This is why you have companies that say bonded, insured, surety bond, and insured, right? And people like that. People like bonded and insured. Okay. Only some states require the surety bond. I know Connecticut does, Ohio does, um, Florida does for one of its licenses, um, Virginia does require it. And then they'll tell you the limit. I think Ohio is like 20,000. I think Connecticut's like 20,000 as well. Okay. All right. So we got our insurance. We got our business started. We got our EIN number. We got our business started. It's going to separate us, uh, if you're a CNA, from the physically from the agency, and give you the ability to, um, you know, bill the client underneath the company's name. You want to get licensed because um, there are people in their Facebook groups that will tell you, oh, if it's private pay, you don't have to, um, you don't have. Oh yeah, let me address that. There are Facebook groups out here that are telling people if you're doing private pay, you do not have to get licensed. It will tell you that you only have to get licensed if you're going to be doing Medicaid. And I'm here to tell you that if you're in a regulated state, that is a lie and not the truth. Once, if you're in a regulated state and they have a licensing process for you to be a home care agency and you provide a service. Now, if you provide that service one-on-one, you are good. That's why I say, hey, get on care.com and promote yourself and do some private duty until you can get your funds up. Now, if you do that, you're good. The moment you go call your girlfriend Tamika, or you go call your friend Ben to work the case with you, because you're getting more clients that's calling you and you get more clients referral, you are now misrepresenting yourself as an agency. And this is where two things can happen. Number one, you can get fined. Fines can be up to $5,000. You might say, hey, I'm making that much money. I don't mind paying $5,000. Then you can get blacklisted from ever being able to open up an agency. And that is when they ask you, who are the owners? If you ever wondering what, well, on the application they're asking, who are the owners? They got you on the list. They don't even let people who are who commit Medicaid fraud to restart an agency. Okay, so you don't want to do that, right? Because you may be remember, the whole um, uh, goal of this message tonight, I may be starting as a caregiver, but I'm thinking like an agency. I'm going to think like an agency, and an agency is leaving a legacy, right? And your legacy is not only about bedside. Let's talk about how you're going to get clients. This should be the easiest part for you, how to get clients. Why? Because you care like the back of your hand. You have so much experience and stories to share with your potential clients. You, whether you were working at a facility or working um, uh, you're working private duty, that you're going to first perfect your presentation. You're going to first perfect your presentation skills, right? Because you haven't had to do that, right? You've shown your work, not had to explain your work, right? And so doing a marketing presentation is a lot. It's a lot different, right? Because you've gotten a lot of word of mouth or people know about you, right? But we want to think like an agency, and an agency does have to market its business, okay? An agency has to market, all right? So getting your first client, it could be contacting previous clients and asking them for a client testimonial. Somebody put client testimonial in the comment. Somebody put client testimonial in the comment. That's my first piece of advice. That's the first thing we're gonna do. Who already knows some clients they can contact. to get that. You already know some clients you can contact again. That's that street cred, that's that social proof. That's you have them leave you a Google review. Oh, but you gotta have a Google business page, right? Because they ain't leaving it on your Facebook page. We want to get clients. So the first thing we're gonna let our previous experience, even though that was our previous experience as a CNA, speak for us. All right. Second thing we're gonna do when we're gonna get, let's say, anywhere from 5 to 10 client testimonials. Have them go on to your Google business profile, and I want to. You should have anywhere from 5 to 10 5-star reviews. They're gonna go looking for you, and they see you got 5-star reviews. Are you contacting your previous clients? Okay, so that's the first thing we're gonna do. Next thing we're gonna do, like I said, I want you to perfect your presentation, your presentation skills, because now it's not just you offering your one-on-one services. Now it's you promoting your business and what your agency and your workers can do. So that was number two. Number three, what is your specialty? And somebody can put that in the comments. What is your specialty? What are you good at? What were you good at when you were Mr. CNA, Miss CNA? What were you good at? Put in the comments. Okay, I got providing support and safety on YouTube. That's good. That's really good for people who have had a lot of falls or have a fear of falling, right? All right. So since we have one person that shared there, I'm going to move on. I'm going to go back to what I talked to you guys about care.com. Now, if you decided to do it initially to um, generate some funds, then that account would have been open for you as an individual. But even if you didn't do that initially because you said, "Hey, I got the money. I'm just going to go ahead and pay for my application fee." Then let's go on to care.com. You can type that in the comments, care.com. And then you can start off by marketing yourself individually as a caregiver, quoting pricing, agency level pricing. Guess what? Unfortunately, some clients don't want an agency. That's why they go in there. But we're going to quote agency level clients. They want the professionalism, they want the reliability, they want the structure, right? So we want to use it as a lead generation because you have a little inside. You can kind of be like a mole. You can go in as a CNA and come out transitioning the client to agency, introducing your workers as backup caregivers. Introducing your workers as backup caregivers. Of course, we want to be ethical when we're doing this, right? Want to be ethical when we're doing this. You're not lying if you go in individually, right? And I know it seems like, well, Sean, I thought you wanted us to get away from bedside. We're going to use this as a lead generation. I'm playing it there so I can see how many people are here looking for, um, senior care for their loved one, looking for senior care for their loved one. All right. So we got client testimonials. We got perfecting your presentation. We're using care.com as a lead generation, right? A place for mom, that's essentially all that is. It's a lead generation, meaning you care.com sends you leads, but they're not even good leads. They're not even qualified leads. They're just people that they pulled offline who might be interested in home care, who might be interested in nursing home, who might be assistant living, and they just send everybody to you. And that's why I said they're not a qualified lead because they're not specifically looking for someone to provide home care to them. That's why a lot of times when people say they have worked with a place for mom, actually, and I can show you an email. I can show you guys an email. They reached out to me. I don't know why they reached out to me. Um, I'll show y'all this email. I'm gonna send it. I'll put a screenshot. They reached out to me. They want me to promote them. When I do everything, I was like, y'all know y'all didn't see me on YouTube because I do everything to try to keep people away from y'all. They want me to be some kind of influencer or something like that. I always have people, like I was telling one of my mentees, like ADP has reached out to me. They want me to promote them to you guys when I think their prices are way too high. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I think their prices are way too high, and I wouldn't want you guys to spend that much money when you're first getting started. So when you see other people doing stuff, they're getting paid. They're getting paid $500, $1,000 every time y'all take those referrals. I said, I don't need them. I don't need them. ADP is way too high. Way too high. Anyway, so, all right. So I'm going to give you the fourth one. Client testimonials, perfecting your presentation, using care.com as a lead strategy, a lead generation versus a place for mom. Then next, I want you to go to these senior communities. A lot of people who really target retirement communities do really, 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 really well. They do really, really, really well because these people really need help. They need help with multiple things. And most of the things they need help with are non-skilled. They're non-skilled things. Interestingly, a lot of concierge nurses are racking up $60 an hour, $75 an hour on visits at these retirement communities. And that's why I said you guys do not need to be intimidated or misunderstand how private pay works. Yeah, I just basically said I don't like a place for mom. So that would be my fourth strategy to you. And something that I missed the step, so that it's 5 steps. Build your team. You want to hire and you want to learn to delegate. Learning to delegate for a CNA is really challenging. So you might need to read some books on delegating. You might need to read some books on first time managers. And you really need to not be so fixed on someone doing it how you would do it. So if you give a bath a certain way If you do somebody's care in a certain way and you feel like even after you show someone they don't do it exactly the way that you would do it, that's not delegating, that's control. And they don't have, and unless you have a step by step saying this is how we should always do it, um and you're not, this is how you should always, this is the XYZ agency way, I would learn to hire good people. You always want to hire good talent. And sometimes you don't pick that up right away, but it's a constant thing of learning the right people to work with you and for you, work with you and for you, and then delegate. And then once you master these 5 steps, you can officially step into your CEO seat. You know why? Because you won't be at the bedside. You would be doing your administrative items, making sure the flow of clients keep coming in, and, you know, seeing that revenue coming in, making sure the billing gets done, all of these things. So that's my, impromptu 5 steps, and it ended up being 5 steps, guys. Thank you so much of how to go from CNA to CEO. Now, to make sure I didn't miss anything, do you guys have any questions? Is something I missed that you want more understanding of? Because I'm gonna throw that piece of paper away because now I have this video that I can refer people to. Let's say if someone says, "Oh, I'm a CNA," go watch my video because I'm gonna leave it up on YouTube. Thank you for the follow. And I'm gonna do a little checklist as well. Yes, in the state of Virginia, yes. Okay, so let me give you some lasting encouragement. Okay, cool. If you're a CNA, you don't, I know you feel some kind of like when you're at the bedside, that's tied to your passion, that's tied to what you feel like you do really, really well. And I want to encourage you that if you step, there's no better legacy than you starting a home care agency, because if you only stay at bedside, you only have those clients that said, "Oh man, I really love when so and so took care of my dad or so and so took care of my mom." You only have those clients, but you by you starting a home care agency, your whole business like just echoes, everything that you are about, that you're passionate about, you're empathetic about. And when you step away from the bedside, because I used to teach um, this training to nurses. Interestingly, I taught it to nurses, and after I taught it to nurses, they gave me a award. Because I actually have more nurse mentees than I do have uh, individuals, corporate professionals. You can't, I'm going to say this slowly, you can't boss up at the bedside. You can't boss up at the bedside. If you're a CNA and you're listening to me, once you step away from the bedside, you don't lose your power. You become more powerful and you build something that's bigger than just your name. One of the most rewarding things that I can say from owning successful home care businesses It is not the amount of money I made. That's, you feel good. It's not the kind of clothes I was able to buy, vacations I was able to go on, um, all of these things, all these material things. It's when I have people working for me and they were buying things. They were getting mortgages. They were putting their kids to school, sending them off to college because of my business. Because of my business. They could rely on my agency to send their kids to college, to buy single family homes, to buy new cars. And my nurses drove Land Rovers and Mercedes. That was more rewarding. Why? Because I know if I didn't start, then could they have gotten that somewhere else? Yes. But I was a part of their journey just as much as they were a part of mine. Private pay billing. Yeah, that was the biggest blessing for me when I started seeing like all of these income verifications come through. I was like, what are they doing? First, it was for apartments. I first started out. Then when it started coming in for mortgage loans, I said, wow, we got to stay in business because these people got mortgages based on the cases they're working. And that was also a good testament that we kept our clients healthy so that we did not have a lot of hospitalizations. So it's so much that goes into owning and operating a home care agency. So much. But again, this was specifically tonight for CNAs. If you don't fall underneath that category, I'm not saying it's not for you. You could definitely listen in. But this was a special message that God put in my heart for you. Bedside care may be where your story starts, but it's not where it will end. And it's a lot of states that you can start your agency in less than 90 days. It's a lot of states you in 2026 starts Thursday. It's a lot of states you can start in 90 less than 90 days. You never thought about that? What you never thought about? So, as you guys may or may not know, oh, I didn't do any introduction. I just started talking. Hey, let me start right over. Hey, my name is Sean, aka the Savvy Business Chick. In 2006, yes, I'm not telling my age. In 2006, I started a home healthcare agency, my first business in the state of Maryland, with the help of God and my mentor. Now, my mentor owned a very successful home health agency with a pediatric niche. So, my very first home care agency was not only nursing, and I'm not a nurse, never been a nurse, never been a CNA, never been a HHA, never been a PCA, never been an LPN, never been an RN, and definitely not an MP or a DNP, but with the help of my registered nurse mentor who owned a very successful multi-million dollar home care agency, I started my first home health agency. And so, because of that, she mentored me and she told me something very essential. She said, I could have very well taken over her business, but she said, I want to teach you how to start your own. So every time I get on here, I am in the mindset of some of the things that my mentor shared with me. I don't want to just give you the fish. I'm trying to teach you how to fish. That's why I ask you guys questions. That's why I try to get you to repeat when I say things. I'm trying to see if you're getting it because on Social media, I don't know how slow the information is going. I'm not really sure if you're really, really getting it. Where are you located? What are you confused about as far as getting clients and where are you located? Okay, we just got a that someone says they're still really confused about getting clients. Where are you located? Getting clients is not okay. Hello.
Hello. I'm
Hi-
trying to make sure you're connected. I'm sorry.
No problem. Where are you located?
I'm in Florida.
Okay, what part of Florida?
I'm in Pensacola.
Okay, Pensacola. And are you licensed?
Yes, I'm a licensed CNA.
Are you a okay, so you're not an agency.
No, I just work right now at a nursing home.
Okay. Well, why don't you consider doing a homemaker companion agency?
Okay, how do I go about? Because I wrote everything down that you said tonight about the steps getting the.
Okay. So you can go on over to my Savvy Business Chick YouTube channel and you can watch a free video on how to start a homemaker companion agency in Florida. So,
Okay.
okay, so you go over there after this. Okay, so what part is confusing about how to get clients?
Yeah, like okay. What would I start? Like you saying, don't put your business on care.com. So that was
You
one of the
can't.
ones.
You can't. You can only care.com only takes individuals,
Okay.
right?
So where would I get clients?
You would get clients from marketing your business.
Marketing.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
self-marketing.
Right. So I'm not trying to, I don't want you to do self-marketing. What I said about care.com is that you can use care.com as a lead generation. So what's your name?
Lakeisha.
Okay, so Nakisha, you can still get on care.com, right? So you get on care.com, but you have your business set up. You have your homemaker companion agency set up, right? So you get on care.com and you set it up as Nakisha, right? Then you put your I want you to set up your profile as an individual, right? Who also works, does you could work individuals and individually or with agency. So you're still setting up as an individual profile because that's how they want you to do it. You use it as a lead generation. What does that mean? Someone reaches out to you and they say, "Oh, well, I need you to help me with my mom," right? And let's say the hours are 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay, you can't work all that. You can't work all those days, right? A, because you have a job. B, you may not even want to work all that. Okay. Well, I would love to help you with your mom. I have XYZ experience with let's say the individual of dementia or blah blah blah. I actually get backup caregiver support from an agency I work with. So then that's how you would lead them into finding about the agency. Guess what? It's your agency. They just don't know that yet.
Okay.
Right? Now, I'm not saying a lot of them. They just don't know. I get backup caregiver support from an agency I work with. Right? How does that work? Because I can't work all of these hours. I can only work, let's say, for example, three days of the week. Um, would you be interested in getting, somebody else who could work the other days I couldn't work? Okay. Well, if you vet them out for us, blah blah blah, and it stays this rate, right? Because you already quoted them an agency rate, so you don't have to raise it because you're gonna be quoting them an agency. Let's say, for example, if you quoted them $32 an hour, right? Then you quoted them enough for you to bill them and pay your worker, right? Because
Right.
even if you work that case, you got to pay yourself as a worker, not take the whole 32,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to pay yourself. If you were going to pay the worker $20, then what's your takeaway? 12,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
All right. So that's one way. The second way we said is if you have worked any time in private duty before, you need to, most of the nurses and caregivers I know, they still have contact with some of their old clients or at least their families. Hey, I'm starting something new. Would you mind giving me a testimonial? It's the same as asking for a reference. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'll give you a testimony. Just, share something small. If you want, I can write it for you. I can write it for you and then you sign off on it if it's good. Right?
And that's what the Google
The
ads.
Google business profile. That's not the Google ad, right? So I'm not even going to the Google ads first because Google ads start off at $15 an hour. I want you to set up your profile. Okay. All right. Then we said, so that's giving you your what they call social proof, right? Because we're in a stage where we check reviews, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We buy something from TikTok, we want to see how many people used it, what it did to their face, everything, right? So that's giving you your reviews, whether it's 5, 10, or 15. Okay. So you
Right.
have those client testimonials to speak for you of how well of a care that you have provided. Now, if you put that underneath your business profile, they don't know if it's talking about you or your caregivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they can just say it in a way, oh, the care she provided was outstanding, right? They don't even have to mention your name. And they don't know if they're talking about you or one of your other caregivers. So then the second piece of advice we said, or the third piece of advice we said, perfecting your presentation. Most people don't know how to talk about their business. And so they stumble at pres- talking about their prices. They stumble at sharing what they can do because they're so used to bedside care. They just feel like, well, let me just show you. And that's not what we can do because that conversation could be on the phone or that conversation can be away from anything that's bedside. So you can't necessarily show to prove yourself. So you have to be able to say it.
Right.
And then the last thing we said, you should go to some of these retirement communities, especially where you are in Florida. You're in a retirement state. I just took my family to Orlando with so many people in wheelchairs and scooters. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like it's accommodating to older people. So it's plenty of people that need help. And if you present your services correctly, then that's how you can get your first client.
Okay. Okay.
And,
I
and,
appreciate
and
that.
I mentioned nothing I mentioned had to do with you getting Medicaid certified. That can come later. And that's why you should become an agency. Start off with a homemaker companion. By you being a CNA, you can get an exemption so you can be able to do personal care. Okay?
Okay. I'm just writing everything.
No problem. Somebody asked a question. You have any other questions or you're good?
Oh no, I'm listening. I'm good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Okay, someone asked a question about does it have to be in person though? What do you mean? What does what have to be in person? Was somebody trying to request scouting for clients? What does that mean? Scouting for clients? You mean marketing? marketing for clients? I'm trying to make sure I'm clear on your question, because she put, because on YouTube she says, does it have to be in person? Scouting for clients, getting clients. What is your fear about it not being in person? What is your fear about it? Like, when you ask, does it have to be in person? You're only going to get but so far doing you're only going to get but so far doing digital marketing. You're only going to get but so far doing digital marketing. You're literally sending somebody into people's homes. You're going to only get but so far doing digital marketing. This is not kind of industry that you can hide behind a computer. You can do homemaker services in Georgia, but you have to um, still get registered as a private home care agency. Okay. All right, guys. Now, normally, I gave you 4 things to do in marketing. That's not a detailed strategy, but it's very, very, very clear if you're listening. It's very, very, very clear if you're listening, because most people would not even tell you that, because guys know I'm always telling you this industry is full of gatekeepers. Industry is full of gatekeepers. If you feel like you don't understand, then ask myself, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? Because she's saying something. Sometimes things that are so simple may feel like that can't be true. It can't be that simple, when it actually is. And I didn't have the luxury of not believing my mentor when she told me to do something. I just did it because I was not a millionaire when I got started. So when I listened to a millionaire who told me, do this on this day to this person, I just did it. I didn't have the luxury of second guessing. And guess what? I did it until it worked, right? Remember, I went back to the same place where I got my first client. I went back there 4 times, signed a private pay client 24 hours, 7 day a week. And it was a commute because it wasn't close to my office. It was a commute because the client lived in a rural area. Nothing was convenient. I did nothing in my comfort zone because I didn't even know what comfort zone looked like. I just registered my business and got my in New Jersey. Great. We just had someone in New Jersey get licensed in our winter 2025. Sorry, fall 2025. The next mentorship, the home care, home health care Kickstarter, starts January 12th, about what, 12 days away? There's still time. Because of something funky going on with Afterpay in a firm, we're going to be doing an in-house payment plan. You have to email me about that. You don't want to go that far. 50, I would say good 50 minutes to an hour. If you want to open up a home care agency in another state, you're going to have to spend time in that state to market your business. I have mentees that live in New York, that open an agency in Connecticut, that open an agency in Ohio, that open an agency in Pennsylvania. They go there, if not once a week, every other week until their business has gotten to a certain level. I have a mentee that's in California. She has an agency in Arizona. She has to go there frequently until your business gets a certain off the ground. Yeah, you got to do some in person. Why? Because you're the new kid on the block. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much. And again, my name is Sean, aka the Savvy Business Chick. And if you are interested in our upcoming home care or home health care Kickstarter, I have a video on my Savvy Business Chick YouTube channel about what it includes. And if you are already licensed and you feel like you want more training, you want a better understanding of how to operate your business and how to grow your business. I didn't even see your question. How to grow your business, then you would go for the home care. You would go for the home care. Sorry, the next step program. All those things are on my website. If you go to www.savvybusinesschick.com. I'm an RN in Maryland listening in tonight. I'm already licensed. Okay, congratulations. You do have to get an MPI to bill some certain insurances. Yes. I'm a nurse in Massachusetts. This has been a dream goal of mine. Great. Massachusetts doesn't even have a license requirement. Which payroll system you use other than ADP? You can use QuickBooks. I think Paychex is even a little bit cheaper. I'm looking to see. I don't see any questions from somebody that said you refuse to answer my question. People are such neat people. I don't even see any questions. Love you guys. Bye. Bye, guys.